Greetings, and welcome to the 5th Annual Fred Finch Impact Celebration. We'd like to thank you all for joining us today to support such a great cause. This year has brought inequality to the forefront of many conversations across the country. Here in California, the beauty of our state comes with a stark contrast between those who have and those who do not. One thing is clear, Fred Finch Youth and Family Services are more needed than ever. And with that, I want to take a moment to give recognition to all the staff members of Fred Finch. You are the essential workers of our society. Where society's falling short, you bring hope and shape futures, and for that, we deeply thank you. My name is Jerry Costco from Proco Insurance Services, and we're proud to continue our partnership with Fred Finch for this great event. For the past several years, it's been our privilege to serve as trusted advisors. In my role, we work together to provide rich and impactful employee benefits that promote the health and well-being of Fred Finch staff and their families. While our teams at Proco also help navigate the evolving landscape of workers' compensation and retirement planning. Our financial advisors work with the staff to ensure they understand their retirement options. And our goal is simple, to protect and support the ongoing legacy of Fred Finch Youth and Family Services. So what is the legacy of Fred Finch? Established as an orphanage in 1891 by Duncan and Eunice C. Finch, Fred Finch was founded on the principle that no one, regardless of their background, financial status, or personal challenges, should be neglected or forgotten. 129 years later, Fred Finch continues to evolve and has become an indispensable organization that provides innovative, effective, and caring and culturally competent services to children, young adults, and their families. I understand what it is to be an at-risk youth and have had siblings who were part of the foster care system. I've experienced and witnessed firsthand how easy it is to fall through the cracks. It brings me comfort to know that the motivated team at Fred Finch is there to help the children in our communities that need them most. Whether it's helping families through the most difficult times or teaching young adults new skills that will prepare them for society, every interaction a child or young adult receives at Fred Finch is helping rebuild and repair a foundation that they will need to live a happy and fulfilled life. Today, we celebrate the impact that Fred Finch's services have made in our communities while highlighting the outstanding individuals and recognizing them for their work to uphold Fred Finch's founding principle that no one should be neglected or forgotten. Before I introduce you to our next guest, I'd like for you to consider how you could help further the mission of Fred Finch Youth and Family Services. There are several ways. Fred Finch has a beautiful campus in Oakland, and funding is always needed for repair and upkeeping. Or you and your friends can join us for a beautiful day on the golf course at Fred Finch's annual golf tournament. And whether it's making a financial contribution or a donation of your time or connecting your network and educating others about Fred Finch, there are many ways to help. You can always call to discuss the opportunities with the team at Fred Finch. As we know, many hands make light work. Together, we can make a difference. With that, it's my great pleasure to introduce you to our friend, an incredible human being, and one of my favorite gentlemen to enjoy a round of golf with, the CEO of Fred Finch Youth and Family Services, Mr. Tom Alexander.
Good evening. I'm Tom Alexander, President and CEO of Fred Finch Youth and Family Services, and I want to welcome you to our 2020 Impact Celebration. First off, gratitude to Jerry Costco and the folks at Proco for being our lead sponsor this evening. We appreciate your generous support, both for our organization and the kids and families that we serve. I also want to thank all of our other sponsors. Your financial contributions make this evening possible. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your participation this evening. And last, I want to thank our volunteer board of directors. Really incredible group of individuals that are truly committed to the mission and vision of Fred Finch Youth and Family Services. They bring their experience and expertise to bear on behalf of the organization, providing us leadership, counsel, and guidance. You truly are the lifeblood of our organization, and we appreciate you. We come together under very different circumstances this year. Ordinarily, we'd be getting together, having a meal, sharing fellowship. But this year, we're in front of the screen. We're on Zoom. And we very much appreciate your participation this evening. We have a really nice program set out for you, and we hope that you enjoy it. The differences tonight, though, really pale in comparison to the differences that we've experienced over the last year in the provision of our service. The COVID pandemic, the racial injustice have had tremendous impact on the communities that we serve, on the kids and families that we serve, whether it's educational impact and the loss of face-to-face schooling, or the economic impact and the huge job losses that have impacted our communities, or access to health and behavioral health care. All of them have had very disparate impacts on the communities in which we work, which makes this evening all that much more important. We need your support. We need your partnership to help us to continue to provide the kinds of service that Fred Finch Youth and Family Services has been known for over the last 130 years. We're joining together tonight to truly celebrate our staff. We're going to provide them the John F. Steinfurst Community Award. We give the award annually to a group of an individual or a group of folks who have had truly an impact on the types of services that we provide to kids and families across the state. And no matter how hard we looked this year, we found no group more deserving than our staff. Truly heroes. They've given selflessly, oftentimes risking their own health and safety, the health and safety of their families. They've sacrificed. They remain dedicated, committed, and really, truly frontline heroes in the provision of much needed behavioral health and social services to our participants. So we'll be recognizing our staff through the evening. We have Tucson Boyle, our own member of the board of directors, who's going to be giving our keynote presentation on the intersection of COVID, racial injustice, and particularly on frontline healthcare workers like our staff. We're going to also have a couple of cameo appearances from our staff members. We're going to have some cameos from board members and also from current and former participants. So we hope you enjoy this evening. And we also want to encourage your participation. Very much want you to consider this a give and take. So we're opening the chat function. If you're a donor, if you're a family member here to support one of the staff, if you're a current or a former participant, take the opportunity to send us a note. Let us know why Fred Finch Youth and Family Services is important to you and why you're joining us this evening. We'll also have a couple of activities during the evening to really encourage you to be a part of what we're doing here tonight. So again, very much appreciate you being here this evening. We thank you for your ongoing support, whether it be financial or otherwise. We're looking forward to a better year in 2021 and know that your support this year will make a difference for Fred Finch Youth and Family Service in the future. With that, we're going to first see what's called a co-video, little play on words. A group called Film Site has done some videos really highlighting the work of frontline workers during the COVID pandemic. It's our own Carmen Pellerin, one of the managers at the Turning Point program. We hope you enjoy this video, the rest of the program this evening. Thank you again for coming. Thank you again for your support. Hope you enjoy the show.
Uncle Ron. That's what I call COVID, Uncle Ron. When COVID first started, let me just stop you out for a minute. When COVID first started, I believe we all, I ain't gonna say all, but a lot of us, like, oh, it's the cold, because that's how they made it sound. But apparently it's not. It's something more dramatic than that. People have lost their lives. People have had their lives forever changed. And for that, that's not cool. I'm Carmen Pellerin, and I work for Fred Finch Youth and Family Services, the Turning Point Program, which is a transitional housing program for 18 to 25-year-olds who are homeless. And we are here to support them to get employment, income to sustain permanent housing once they move out. Our work requires that we be hands-on. It requires that we be here. It requires that we be actually having personal interaction with residents and wearing masks, 6 feet distancing. Naturally, is something that they really don't do. But they also are in their homes, and we are working in their homes. So you just deal with it.
For me personally, going into a pandemic that I had never been in before is a panic. And that might be why it's called pandemic. But trying to make sure the clients are calm or talk to them as best as you can, keeping abreast on the news. I've never watched the news so much in my entire life.
So we are speaking with Walter, who is a participant here. And Walter, how was your life before COVID? Being a part of the Turning Point program.
I was in a different place back then. I would say maybe a better place, emotionally, maybe. So maybe that's like the biggest change between then and now.
How do we let them understand that it is serious, that it is something that is affecting the whole world? The whole world has shut down. But for them, my question was how much of it affected them in a way that they may have already felt like the world was already shut down for them. There are certain things that they didn't have, which was a permanent home. So how does this COVID make it any different?
What emotional change would you like to speak about?
Maybe it's just for me and my demographic. There's been a lot of, stuff going on this year in particular.
Mm-hmm.
With African Americans in the news, they're kind of, you're forced to look at.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in years prior, it was possible to hear about it, but it's just like a glimpse. This year, it's kind of like everything's at the forefront, and you have to pay attention. So I feel like that was something that helped with the emotional side of it all. It's like it's hard to see things happening and not feel some type of way,
Mm-hmm.
But it was that. It was the fact that you put yourself in a box because you can't really go out and do things the way you want to
Mm-hmm.
anymore. So then you're trying to figure out ways to be productive and ways to do stuff. And sometimes, you feel like you're disappointing yourself, but then you just look around and you're like, the world is different. So.
Mm-hmm.
We had participants who were working, who were making really good money. COVID happens and the world shuts down, which meant their job shut down, which meant they went from being homeless with potential of not being homeless again to I don't have a job and I'm probably going to be homeless again. Not a good feeling for anybody.
And has there been any positive that has happened during COVID?
Yeah, I feel like I've been blessed this year to have people, that keep me honest and keep me aware of all the good stuff I still have. So yeah, this year hasn't been all bad.
I do want to say that anytime you're working with anybody else's children, regardless of what capacity, whether you are in foster homes, group homes, transitional housing programs, shelters. You're giving more than what it is that you may get. And we are taught not to be attached to an outcome. COVID definitely has let us know the future is unpredictable, and you better get ready because you don't know what's coming, baby.
Good evening. My name is Bert Yin, and it is with a great deal of pleasure that I come before you tonight as a member of the Board of Directors of Fred Finch Youth and Family Services, as well as a former resident of over 60 years ago when it was known as Fred Finch Children's Home. I'm here this evening to express my immense gratitude to all of you, the staff in Northern and Southern California. You have worked so tirelessly throughout the COVID-19 pandemic to support the children, youth, and families we serve, and to ensure that they have continued to receive the support they need. I'm humbled by your untiring dedication and commitment. On behalf of the board, thank you for the huge impact you make today and every day.
Hi, I'm Joanna Ahmet, and I'm a former resident at Fred Finch in Oakland, California. And I was there as a resident more than 60 years ago.
Hello, my name is Barbara. I was at Fred Finch from 57 through 60.
And everything was provided, housing, food, some clothing, and we had encouragement and counseling.
We had what they called a little allowance, and then you had positive and negatives. So you got so much money for a positive, you were doing things good, and some taken off from if you were negative. And a lot of times when I first came there, I was in the negative a lot.
Living at home is obviously the very best way to go through life when you're growing up. But if that's not possible and you have to go into group living, at that time, Fred Finch was the best alternative we could ever hope for.
The staff that was there, they were fabulous people, and they were very patient with everybody, and I just love them dearly.
What Fred Finch was 60 years ago and what it is today is so different, but that's wonderful because it's needed to change, and it has reinvented itself with the focus on the needs of the young people in the community and the community itself.
During that time, I made a lot of friends, and I referred to them more like my brothers and sisters, which I have kept in touch with. And I have one special one, which is Joanna, and she is really like my sister. And we talk probably 4 times a week.
The staff that you hire to help people through this, they have to be exceptionally gifted people, and we are grateful, terribly grateful.
It was just great when I was there, and I wish all of you great success.
Today you have risen to the challenge to reach young people in need with special attention to mental health. It's just one testament to the quality of this institution. I know Barbara and I are so proud to help support what all of you have accomplished and continue to accomplish every day. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Jewell. I'm the chair of the Fred Finch board, and I just want to say thank you so much for being with us tonight. Boy, we'd much rather be with you in person, but this is what we're doing tonight, and we're just delighted that you could be here with us. As you can imagine, these are hard times for agencies like ours. Tremendous need from our families that we serve, and we need tremendous support from the community at the same time. tonight, we are so delighted to have with us a keynote address from one of our esteemed board members, Tosan Boyo. Again, I welcome you and I thank you, and please be as supportive as you can of the agency. We are so grateful to have your support and your understanding of our needs at this moment. Please enjoy the keynote and thanks again.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tosan Boyo. I used to serve as the Chief Operating Officer of San Francisco General Hospital, and my tenure in that role ended, and then I served as the Chief of Operations for the San Francisco COVID Command Center, and I will be transitioning to John Muir Health as the Senior Vice President of Hospital Operations. I've had the privilege of serving on the board of Fred Finch for over 5 years now, and I've loved every minute of it, supporting this wonderful organization, and I will continue to support them until they get tired of me. So thank you for having me tonight. Today, I wanted to talk about the intersections between COVID and equity, and it's really a tale of two pandemics. Over the past 7 months, I served as the Chief of Operations for the San Francisco COVID Command Center. So we were leading the COVID command for the entire city and county of San Francisco. And it had been a fascinating, challenging, and rewarding journey. Just taking a step back to when we started, our priorities were as follows: protect the vulnerable populations in the city. So these were people 60 and above. Protect the health workers and first responders. These were people who were going to be on the front lines of the pandemic. Mitigate transmission in the community. We now know, and when we, hindsight is 2020, but back then how the disease was being transmitted was explosive. And we needed to do everything in our power to control the transmission rate. And these were things through social distancing, masking, and good hand hygiene. Our fourth priority was expanding testing in the city. So this was how we would determine who had the disease, who was a person that could possibly have the disease, who had been in close contact. How can we make sure that we could test and understand who needed to be isolated and quarantined? And then optimizing surge capacity across the entire city. So this meant partnering with hospitals to make sure that we had a lot of room for patients who had COVID, so making sure we had enough ICU beds, enough ventilator, and enough med-surg beds. The key thing I want to mention is that the COVID pandemic really exacerbated disparities that had always existed in the Bay Area and really in the country. And it really shed a light on the fact that the most vulnerable were always going to be the most likely to suffer during the pandemic. And at the same time as the pandemic was raging across the country, the US was also experiencing a significant reckoning with race relations in the city and county of San Francisco, in the Bay Area, across the entire country. And this really pushed me to work with the city to understand, how does health equity, and really healthcare in general, how does health equity, why does it matter? And how does all this work align with COVID, especially when it highlighted the intersections? So I want to take this opportunity to focus on equity, why it matters, what we can do to advance equity in the Bay Area, in the country, but also how is Fred Finch going to prioritize advancing equity? So equity matters because everyone should have a fair and just opportunity to be as healthy as possible. Those with the greatest resources require more, not equal, care and support to equalize opportunities. A lot of times we assume that, hey, if we treat everyone the same way, that is us doing the right thing. But in reality, that is the wrong thing, because my story is different from your story. The experiences that brought you to where you are today are very different from the experiences that brought me to where I am. So when we present for health services, we want our providers and staff to acknowledge your story, understand your story, and tailor your care according to your story so you can have the best outcomes possible. In the city and county of San Francisco, one of the things we learned early was that 50% of the COVID positive cases in the city were with our Latino patients. And the question becomes, why? And then how can we make sure we reduce that disparities? And this is an example of where culture, socioeconomic means intersect with the pandemic, and we needed to find a way to address these disparities. So in the height of the pandemic, we built a lot of relationship with CBOs, developed a Latino task force, getting messages out to the communities to make sure that our Latino populations knew that A, we were there for them, B, we were going to provide the resources and tools needed to make sure that they were going to be able to isolate and quarantine, and then providing the education necessary to prevent the disease from spreading in the first place. This is how advancing equity was used to mitigate transmission. And advancing equity can be used to improve care in any type of healthcare setting. And also in the US, Black people are 2.5 more likely than whites to die from COVID-19. And as a matter of fact, when we think about the things that occurred over the summer, George Floyd, after he died, it was determined had COVID-19 in his lungs. So if you consider everything that had happened for him to end up where he ended up, for him to die so tragically, and then to find out he was COVID positive at the same time, says a lot about how far we have to go when it comes to our equity journey. So a question I want to pose to the audience right now, and also challenging to healthcare in general, during times of unrest, what is the role of healthcare? I believe that healthcare should serve as an example. We have an obligation and a responsibility to be the sanctuary within a sanctuary. And this means that in leading by example, we need to let every other industry know that we prioritize the people we serve, the stories behind the people we serve, and then the workforce. We want our staff to present their whole selves to work every single day. And that means we have to care compassionately in understanding where people are coming from. We have to live with empathy and building that bridge so that everyone knows what our role and responsibility is in being there for them. And then by caring equitably, we're making sure that people get the best outcomes possible. So when we think about the journey of the city and county of San Francisco, I'm very proud to say that we are the second most densely populated city in the entire US, and yet we had the highest testing rates. We have the lowest new case rates, and then we also had the lowest deaths in the entire country. And that is the power of the city and county of San Francisco, our values, our resources, leadership from the mayor, our health officer, our director of public health. But one of the reasons I feel we've been truly successful is because of our values, placing science, following the data, and how we prioritize how we're going to support the city. So when you think about the organizations that you're presenting, when you think about your job, when we think about Fred Finch, when we think about different healthcare settings, I wanted to share what are some common things that we can all do to prioritize equity in where we work. Number one is stratifying your quality metrics by race, ethnicity, and language. This lets you know that when you think about the reason your organization exists, how you quantify the reason your organization exists, how you quantify the impact of why your organization exists, stratify those outcomes by race, ethnicity, and language to make sure that no population is being left behind. You also want to assess your leadership team and ask, do you reflect the populations that you are serving? The third piece is research, acknowledge, and understand the history of racism in the community you served. Echoes of the challenges and the traumas that existed decades ago, years ago, yesterday, impact everything that we're doing today. Fourth, appreciate that our patients and staff have been and will continue to be impacted by inequity before they present to the hospital, to their clinic, or to Fred Finch. By understanding this, if we do not acknowledge it when they present, then we are perpetuating it. I believe we have a responsibility to be there for our patients and our clients when no one else will, and making sure that they feel welcome. And then discuss and challenge inequities every single time. This means with your family, with your friends, with your colleagues. Anytime you see, hear an inequity, we expect you and look to you to call it out, because that is the only way we can actually end inequities, by highlighting it and not pretending they don't exist. So when we think about Fred Finch, I'm very proud to say that we have goals for equity. And going back to what I just mentioned, number one, become a healing-centered organization with a diverse staff, making sure that they reflect the population that they're taking care of. Having staff who possess awareness and interpretation of skills to learn about. So this also means empowering the workforce to have the tools and resources to promote inclusion at work. And again, making sure that Fred Finch is really aligned. I'm proud to serve on this board. Acknowledging history, as I just mentioned, of the community, and making sure that we are creating systems to counteract any inequities in the institution. And with that, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here today. It's been a phenomenal privilege for me to serve as the serve on the board of directors of Fred Finch Health Center and Youth Services. Thank you for continuing to support our organization. I'm really grateful. Have a good night.
I'm Aaron. Right now, I'm going to college and I'm living at Rising Oaks, a part of Fred Finch. My major is communication studies, and with that, I just want to use my voice however way I can in the future, whatever profession that may be, maybe like teaching, maybe a therapist, counselor. Really, I'm open to whatever career I fall under. So I'm just trying to use my voice with communication studies. This Corona, man, it stripped away my senior year. No doubt. My experience at Rising Oaks, fantastic. I mean, again, just looking at myself, who I am, I definitely made it to where, everything is gonna be okay, no matter what's thrown at me. But with that being said, I mean, this time I've had in my own place at Rising Oaks, it gave me so much room to grow and figure out like what I need to do, what I want to do, and then who I am as a person. And I'm still finding that out still. And I appreciate just the space that I have to figure that out on my own. I was definitely feeling blessed when I first moved in here. But like I said, just a space, giving me a space to think, have my own ideas for myself, and just everything to myself is really the outline of my experience. Independence is what I got out of it. So yeah, I definitely thank Fred Finch for everything so far. I still have some time here, and I plan to continue to grow. I just want to give appreciation to all the staff within Fred Finch, because it's just so much support. Then it's like a family I can always come to, and ask anything. I can definitely rely on them, and they just been a great help, a great push for me to continue on this path that I'm on, and that's the path of greatness, on my way to success. Fred Finch definitely is a part of that. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chad Cox. I was a resident at Fred Finch from around 1991 to 1993. I was part of a program known as the Transitional Assistance Program that was designed to teach residents skills that they needed to live on their own and move out of Fred Finch. Currently, I work as an associate professor at Sacramento State University. I teach chemistry, I teach nutrition. I also work doing research at UC Davis, a little bit on the side, and I work for a company. I do some consulting for a company that's trying to design a virtual reality program about nutrition. So that's currently what I'm doing. When I was at Fred Finch, however, that's not what I was doing. In fact, when I was at Fred Finch, I was kind of a pain. So I appreciate everyone who put up with me during that time, and hopefully it was worth it in the end, that I turned out okay. First off, I wanted to say that I was really happy to hear that John Steinfurst was dedicating this award this year to the staff, because I really don't think that they get enough recognition for everything that they do. And when I had the opportunity a few years ago to come back and visit Fred Finch, one of the things that I got an opportunity to do was meet with the staff and express to them my appreciation for all that they do for all the residents. And so that was a great experience for me to be able to address them that way. And it's great for me to be able to be here and do it again during this impact celebration. The staff are the ones we all know that work directly with the residents. And so they're going to have the biggest impact. And so since this is an impact celebration, it makes sense to be celebrating the staff, because they're the ones, again, that have the biggest impact on these people's lives. And the relationships that you make with the staff members, at least for me, some of them lasted. I'm still personal friends with one of the staff members that was my one-on-one counselor at Fred Finch. He left Fred Finch before I did, and we kept contact, and I still talk with him today. And so he's helped influence my life and the decisions that I've made. And so it doesn't end when you leave Fred Finch. It's possible to kindle these relationships for a much longer period of time. The only other thing that I wanted to share is I wanted to give one specific example of how I felt that the staff influenced my life and helped me. And so what I wanted to say was, when I was a resident there, a psychiatrist told my father that I wasn't going to be successful, that children that went to places like Fred Finch, they weren't going to go and contribute to society, and you shouldn't expect much out of them. And so the staff members, though, they didn't feel that way, and they didn't give up on me. In fact, what they did was they recognized that I had an ability in terms of my intelligence and my education, and they made sure that I got to go to an off-campus school that was able to accommodate that. And through doing that, I was able to perform well and get myself into UC Davis, where I earned 2 undergraduate degrees and a PhD in nutritional biology. And if it wasn't for them, I might not have made it, okay? I might not have made it to UC Davis. And I have what I consider to be an amazing life now. You know, I have a wonderful family. I live in a really beautiful home out in the country with a bunch of chickens and a pig and a bunch of cats. And it's very nice. Okay. And so I thank you for not giving up on me. I thank you for all that you did for me and for all that you do for the residents of Fred Finch. And I would say, keep up the good work and know that your efforts are being appreciated and that you're helping people to become productive members of society and not statistics, like that psychiatrist said that I was going to be. All of the former residents, including myself, that are giving interviews as part of this celebration are your proof of this. So you know that that's actually happening. And so that's what I would have to share with you. And I thank you again for allowing me to be a part of the celebration.
Good evening, all. Thank you so much for coming to the annual Fred Finch Youth and Family Services, the 5th one, the Impact Celebration. I hope you, by the way, enjoyed your dinner tonight. I thought the salmon was absolutely delicious. I had a bite of the vegetarian, also great. And I just think we're so lucky to be able to have this kind of meal before all the celebrations and the honors take place. Tonight is particularly important because in the past we've honored those who have been outside the Fred Finch family, but tonight we honor those who are often overlooked, those who are living during the pandemic and working during the pandemic and have been the superheroes, the first responders, a remarkable group, truly need to be acknowledged and recognized. We're talking about the staff. This is a group that has gone beyond the pale and has worked so hard and devotedly to make a difference in the children, the clients, and the families' lives during this very difficult and turbulent period. So from San Diego in the south to Oakland in the north, it is a pleasure and an honor to begin to talk about how important and how much has been contributed this year by the staff. And I want to just give some brief examples about what they've done. Earlier in the evening, you heard some music done by David and his client. And this is a result of David's ingenuity and creativity to be able to connect in a way that otherwise may have been challenging because of the difficulty in being able to see him in person. But once their music partnership became available and accessible, the client's trust in David became very obvious, and the important changes to reduce the family crisis took place along with other staff members who helped out the family. It's also important to note that the clinicians are very creative and they're flexible and they're gutsy. Deborah, a therapist in the CARES program, figured out a way to be able to engage the family, and she chose, after looking at all the safeguards, to do home visits and visit the family. Even would come there and be able to sanitize the furniture so that everybody learn how to do it to a certain extent and feel good and safe about being there. The client was one of those who was developmentally disabled and on autism spectrum. And the family was very anxious and worried and nervous about what to do during the daytime, how to structure the child's day and be able to make a kind of a life so that the family's whole anxiety would be and stress would be reduced. She was able to do that. She was able to come in, be able to talk, and be able to engage the whole family in a way that was quite remarkable during this period of time. I also want to talk about Fred and Roland. Fred is the instructional aide in the Oakland campus in the residential program, and Roland is the residential director in San Diego's residential program. What they both talked about was how to engage the residents in a way that was very difficult to do because they couldn't take visits in the outside, they couldn't go on the trips that they often do. Their activities were limited to the campus and to the residences. So both of them found different ways of being creative. Fred gave us an example of surprising the clients with tennis shoes. He was able to get beautiful new tennis shoes and be able to hide them until they got up in the morning, went out the door, and there they were. These new tennis shoes, different colors, different shapes. And that was kind of a way of expressing joy and being taken care of and feeling that they were able to be confident increasingly in this kind of interchange with Fred and his colleagues and his staff. And Roland similarly began to do certain kinds of activities and programs and be able to do arts and crafts in a way that hadn't done before and fill the whole day up, as well as, of course, going to school during the days. It's true for both programs. Roland talked particularly about connecting to families during this time and was able to figure out how to virtually meet with them, have the children, the residents, meet with the families virtually, and what was initially very difficult and strained became very much matter of fact over the months. And that's been a way for the families and the residents to be able to connect in a way that allows them to feel that they can be effective with each other and be able to make the kinds of changes and work that they're doing well in the Fred Finch program. I also want to mention how the staff supports each other from top to bottom, from executive staff to middle staff to senior executive staff to supervisors to social workers to direct counselors to teachers, in a way that allowed them to really feel supported by everybody here at Fred Finch. It's been remarkable. And as a matter of fact, one of the staff, Craig, who is a janitor, told me that this is a very important part of retaining staff morale, how they come together, how they feel that they're helping each other, and how they realize that as a team and as a family, as it were, they were able to do such great work with the clients, and how they feel among themselves about supporting each other. It's a tremendous honor for me to present these wonderful plaques to both the northern part of Fred Finch. You can see the oak trees, hence, I guess, oak in Oakland, and also the similar one, but a little bit different, for the South and San Diego. And they're really quite gorgeous, and this is a way of showing our expression to them. And I just wanted to say that we should all stand up and thank the staff who are duly and lovingly honored on this occasion. Thank you very much, and I want to remind you that the dessert platters are in the other room, the common area. I'll meet you there in about 10 minutes, and I think it's time for a really good dessert and some decaffeinated coffee and tea. So enjoy yourselves. Thank you so much for coming.
I love the people at Fred Finch. There's so much genuine connection that makes the work a lot more enjoyable to do. And it also makes us pretty much like a family chasing after one goal.
It helps us create a community with those who might have been robbed of that. They might not know what a community is, and we're able to provide that, teach them what it is to be like a family.
To provide services for the most vulnerable. And Fred Finch encompasses that, and they dedicate themselves to serving children, to serving the family, and to working with them to make sure their needs are met.
They align with participants and families to help them feel seen and heard and understood.
Having hands-on involvement in the lives of families going through crisis, of youth who are at their last end, who don't know what to do next, and being right there on the hard lines in person, working through some of the hard moments in life.
And then that one kid is graduating, man, it kind of gets emotional because, you know, they're with you and they kind of become a part of this family that we have here at Fred Finch, where we have committed staff, very great people to work with, and plus these great kids. And to see them grow in our program, it's like, you know, having your own kid really, you know, graduating. It's a really touching moment.
Having been here for 4 years, I've seen the incredible work that the therapists and the other staff do with really vulnerable kids and families.
I know myself and a lot of the clinicians I work with really do what we can to support the whole family in their needs, whether that's food, whether that's clothing, whether that's just a bunch, whatever it is that they need, that we are committed to them as a family and to meeting all of their needs, not just their mental health needs.
With Fred Finch, you know, I do feel lucky that during all this pandemic, we can still assist families.
We care, and that we go above and beyond to let them know that Fred Finch cares and that the workers here do care, and that we want to make sure that they feel like they are being supported even when things are confusing.
I think that during the pandemic in particular, it was important for participants and residents to see staff here, to know that they had support during this crazy and unknown time. They needed that. And I think it was important for us to be here for them.
And we believe in the work that we do. We have staff that have spent their entire careers working in one place, which is so unheard of these days.
They're not doing this for the money. They're not doing it for the glory or anything. They're doing it because they care about our participants.
It's nice to work around individuals who really care, not only about what they do, but the participants in the mission and just the greater good.
Everyone has this passion to help and this passion to make a difference.
Just the amount of the sacrifice that people put into working here, the amount of passion people put in just at every level.
Even though it's really, really hard on a daily basis, it's really tough work. When I see them improving, it makes it all worth it.
Flawed as the system may be, there is positivity and there's, people get things out of it if you have a good support system. I'm proof of that, and it's nice to be able to give that back to others. And it's been the most rewarding job that I never knew I wanted.
I feel like the big reason why I enjoy the work is being a part of a bigger picture. And when I say bigger picture, I imagine the community and the families that I work with and the individuals, that there is some change for the better.
Bottom line, really simply, kids and families get better. And whether it's my programs in the residential programs, or it's community-based, or it's school-based, or it's housing, across the board, kids and families get better. The work works. The work works.
Hi, my name is Desirina. Everybody knows me as Desi. I was at Fred Finch from 89 to 92. And I would just love to express my gratitude and appreciation and love for the staff at Fred Finch. They are hands-on. You know, I never met a staff that didn't care or didn't, want what was best. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the foundations they built. I did the best I could as a mom. I didn't repeat patterns. I broke the cycle of abuse and neglect. And I owe that to the staff. Administrators are where administrators are, and staff are where staff are, and they're right next to you. And so I owe them a lot. And I've spent most of my adult life giving back to the community. I did right by my kids, so my kids do right in society, right? And when I turned 30, I decided I was going to go back to school. And after just one semester, I became a tutor. And I did that for 15 years of my life. And so I felt like it was time for me to move on and still give back even more and have a greater impact. Now I'm a housing advocate for the East Oakland Community Project. I work at Family Matters, Family Homeless Shelter. I've only been there, I think, 2 months now. And I get a lot of compliments and thank yous from families for just being me. And I think Fred Finch had a lot to do with that. The staff had a lot to do with that. And you guys know who you are. And keep up whatever you're doing, because you're spitting out people like me. And I pretty much love myself now because of it. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is April Smith. I've been on the board of directors of Fred Finch for the past 3 years, and I've had the privilege of being the community outreach chair the past year. I apologize that I have to do this from my living room and on my couch, but I'm still very excited to be able to have this part in the Impact Celebration. By now, you've heard of the tremendous work that Fred Finch has done, both in the East Bay community here in Northern California, as well as San Diego and Southern California. You've heard from my fellow board members, including the keynote speaker on health and equity, and the real impact and importance of that, particularly framed in this time frame in 2020. As all of us know, this has been a challenging year for a myriad of reasons. We've seen COVID-19 disproportionately impact people of color, but more importantly, everyone in the United States has been impacted by this. We've seen the racial injustices that have happened and the protests that have gone on with that. When it comes to this, I think it's important for us to keep in mind that what do we do to create hope? And part of hope is protecting and enabling services such as Fred Finch to continue with the incredible work they're doing with youth in general, but particularly youth of color. 80% of our kids identify as youth of color. So when you're wondering, how do I create a sense of hope or help during this time frame, my suggestion, if you can be as generous as you can with your donations tonight, that is going to make such an impact on how we can continue to serve with excellence here at Fred Finch. So to conclude our Impact Celebration, I have the honor of introducing the Fred Finch Senior Director, Roger Daniels. I hope everyone has a wonderful night.
Good evening. My name is Roger Daniels, Senior Director with Fred Finch Youth and Family Services. I've been with the agency for 14 years. I'm broadcasting live and in person from the Wayne Daniels Studio in Berkeley, California. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for our 5th annual Impact Celebration. As the evening comes to a close, we'd like you to join us in an act of remembrance. Remembering and honoring those that have gone before us is a time-honored tradition in many cultures and religious practices. The practice of remembrance can be a source of strength, hope, liberation, and knowledge. At a time when there is so much unrest and uncertainty in the world, calling upon our ancestors for guidance and hope seems more important than ever. Acknowledging the connection between our past and present provides an opportunity to reflect on who we are, why we're here, and what our responsibility is to work towards making this world a better place for those who will honor us when we move on from this place. In that spirit, we invite you all to participate in a moment of silence for those we have lost, to honor them, to engage in a shared experience of uplift, and to reflect on how you can be a part of the solution for the problems we face today in our communities. If you're so inclined, you're invited to put names or inspirational thoughts into the chat. We'll begin our moment of silence now.